Well, hello guys, and welcome back to another Steven Universe Theory. In this episode, we'll be talking about Bismuth. Oh my gosh, this episode, guys. It was like everything I wanted and more. I'm not doing that justice, but just this one was so great, and I'm having trouble kind of explaining why. It left me speechless the first time I saw it. I've seen it 3 times now. It's so great. Let's get down to Bismuth. Ah, gosh, that. Here's a little anecdote. When I was writing the Bismuth theory back, my most popular one, that one, every time I typed in the word Bismuth, it auto-corrected it to business. So yeah, let's get right down to it. So the episode starts off, the crystal gems are just relaxing, playing games, right? Steven's playing a game, and they're all watching him, and then Lion's messing with him, and he goes into Lion's mane. And inside Lion's mane, he accidentally pops the bubble with the weird gem in it. When he goes back in, Bismuth is there. She's reformed, and oh my gosh, it's from here. So we finally get Bismuth. We've seen her first appearance was Alone, we've seen Bismuth since Alone at Sea, so we finally get to meet her. Not Alone at Sea, it's Same Old World. So she comes out, and with all the crystal gems, she was an old crystal gem. The crystal gems love her. They're having so much fun. It's just they like to see her. She clearly got along well with all the crystal gems, and they all just adore her. Right? It's all just good fun. She asks where Rose is, and we see Steven is Rose. But if you notice, based on how she talks, she's like Jasper. She treats Steven as Rose, and she's like, okay, you may be her son, but you are Rose, and we'll get back to this a little later, but Steven, she does the same thing Jasper does, because again, Homeworld doesn't have kids. From there, she asks about the war, what happened, because of course she was bubbled at some point. They head over to the strawberry fields. We've seen this before in the promos, and now I noticed how the way she's talking about it. She's like, oh, the gems may be attacking us, but we're gonna beat them. We're gonna stop the diamonds. She's riling the gems up. She's like a leader. Really, in the way she's talking to them, oh, we're not gonna let them get to us. None of those are direct quotes. So we then head to her forgery. And now, I know... Oh, wait. Before we get to the forgery, I do want to point out something. She mentions the war. We're gonna take the war to the diamonds. Now, this is the second time we've mentioned a war with Homeworld this week, both in this episode and Gem Hunt. While not subtle, this is foreshadowing. The war is coming. It'll probably next season. That's what I got my money on. We're getting the war, no doubt about it. Okay, now let's get back in. So we head to the Blacksmith's workshop. Here we actually learn Bismuth. Now, I remember people were like, oh, based on her looks, she's a blacksmith. But she makes that comment about wood. Maybe she's a builder. She's both, as we learn. She is an architect. I'm going to use the word architect. But she's a builder from her days serving under the diamonds. But then when she joined Rose, she became a blacksmith. So, yeah, both are kind of correct. And then, so we see her build a sword, and then we learn, of course, there's something off with her. Amethyst kind of doesn't trust her, and Steven does admit something is off. Now, of course, I made a theory, and I'm going to talk about it. In my theory, I did mention how there was a possibility that Amethyst wouldn't trust Bismuth, or would fight Bismuth because of how she because she felt like Bismuth was replacing her, like something was off. And I kind of got that right. I mean, like, she doesn't trust her at first, but the second she gets her new whip, it's over. So, yeah, that's I did kind of get it right, kind of not, so yeah, you can take that whatever. There'll be a lot of that in this, about how I kind of got it right, kind of didn't. So they head back, and they have this sparring practice, right, because the gyms, they now have these new weapons, which I wonder if they're permanent or not. We don't really know, because, I mean, like, to see Pearl with the trident, to see Garnet with the brass knuckles, I don't know, it's interesting. So, right, because we find out this is a tradition for the gyms, to fight before battle. Which, yeah. So, and then Steven's like, oh, here, let me show you some of my traditions. They lax around, they play some cards, they make some pizza. Ooh. And then, so, right, they make some pizza, and they watch The Lonely Blade. And here, we learn that, oh, where was it? Bismuth, right, they're watching, it's the Blade of Infinite Power, but Bismuth is like, she should take it. It's all about power. Also, Amethyst's pizza burrito, that was solid. And then, so right, it's night, just a place to sleep, because Bismuth, right, Earth traditions, and Bismuth, Steven mentions, every time I meet a new gym, they try to kill me. It is true. I mean, like, it's not wrong. It's just an interesting... He points it out, self-awareness, and then they sit down, and they're just talking, and Bismuth... Well, we learn Rose told Bismuth she can be whatever she wants. She doesn't have to be constrained to Homeworld, because, you can do whatever, because she wants to build weapons, so she builds weapons. And also, there was this line like, oh, what was it? How, she just came out of the... She was out from the dirt here or something. And does that mean... Rose wasn't made on Earth, right? Right? She wasn't. But just the way she worded that was really weird. It sounded like Rose was made on Earth. But then she tells Steven, you don't have to be like your mom. You can be whatever you want to be. And especially after Steven versus Amethyst, I think that's something he really needed to hear. It really was. And then we also learn that Rose's sword was designed to cut gyms, but not kill them. Which, yeah, that makes perfect sense for Rose. That's why Bismuth built Rose's, right? That's what Rose's sword was meant to do. So they head back to the forgery, because Bismuth says she's going to give Steven a new weapon. Now, we get to see this weapon. This is the exact opposite of what Rose's weapon is. This is the breaking point. And the second I saw this thing, all the pieces put together. Why was Bismuth in the bubble? What happened to her? Why did it happen to her? It all made sense. Just looking at this weapon, I knew everything. And because it's the exact opposite of Rose's sword. So we see her use this on... She creates these statues, and we see her use it on it. And it's meant to shatter gems. Which... Okay, yeah, that's pretty... Steven says it best himself. If we do that, we are no better than our enemies. And that's where the conflict starts up. They can't use the weapon, and Bismuth says, you are Rose. Rose said the exact same thing. Because, of course, like mother, like son. We've seen this before, and that's exactly where this goes. And Bismuth... So... I do want to point out something. Bismuth is talking about how she is the most crystal gem, right? She is like the most patriotic, I think is the best way to put it. And now this shows our perfect ideology shift. Bismuth, she says crystal gems, right? We fight for the freedom of gems. That's what Bismuth believes. That's what she fights for. But as we learn, Rose fought for Earth. There is a different ideology here between the two gyms. And if I'm correct, I bet if Rose hadn't have popped Bismuth, or poofed her and bubbled her, Bismuth would have done the same thing to Rose. Rose was just thinking ahead. What I mean is Rose was the leader, right? But Bismuth also, the way she gets along with the Crystal Gems, she is also a leader. She gets along really well with the Crystal Gems. And if Bismuth hadn't been bubbled, and right, they had continued on, they had won the war, I bet there would have been two paths. Bismuth would have either split the crystal gems apart, one side to stay with Rose, one side to go with her and try to conquer Homeworld, or another side, she would have also maybe shattered Rose because Rose wasn't taking it far enough. She would have usurped the crystal gems from under Rose. That's where I would have put my money it would have gone. So Bismuth goes after Steven because Steven is, right, he thinks Steven is Rose. He finds out, right, she says that, oh, you're just like Rose, you bubbled me. She puts two and two together. They have a fight. We learn Bismuth is about power, right? She wanted to beat the Diamonds. And she, with her weapon, maybe she could have done it. But yeah, so they fight, and at the point, Steven gets the weapon up to Bismuth, but he doesn't do it, because he can't, right? He can, but he's not going to. Because again, that makes him no better. Now, Bismuth isn't evil. I do want to say that. She is clearly not evil. She still has a good heart, right? She still believes in protecting gems. It's just her methods are no better than the Diamonds. And she cares for people, she just does it in a different way. Her ideologies and Rose's would have eventually clashed. And then, so Steven stabs through Bismuth, and we get just a great line. You're better than her. That is so great. Steven's been told, Steven this entire time has been living up to Rose, right? That's all he ever wants to do. He wants to be as good as Rose, and he feels he can't do it. And Bismuth tells her, no, you have surpassed her. By telling the other gems, my friends, about me, what happens to me, you will be better than her. And she poofs. But Steven destroys the weapon, and we also learn, this gives us a lot for Steven, and a lot for him to think about. Rose has always been, this great thing. She fought for Earth. She did all this amazing stuff. But now I think Steven's going to learn his mother wasn't everything she seemed. She had a dark past. She did some horrible things. And this is the lesson to be learned from this, is that maybe his mother was great, but maybe, again, she didn't do everything perfect. And where we're going to go with this, I don't know. Because they put Bismuth back in the bubble and let her loose in their gym prison. That's where it ends. And you know what? My number one hope is I hope we get a war flashback. I want to see the crystal gems during the war. I really do now. That just seems like such a great thing. I hope it happens. We've got a bunch of great Rose flashbacks, but I want to see one about her darker side. Do you know what I mean? Overall, this episode is amazing. Really. This season just keeps topping itself. And we still got a week left, because I don't think there's an episode tomorrow, but we've still got a week left. Who knows what they're going to do in that time? This was just so great. For a 100th episode, it was just so well done. I also do want to say, this isn't the last we've seen of Bismuth. Far from it, in fact. With all this hinting at a second war, we're going to see her again. Just trust me on that. And then, again, I do want to address my theory. In my theory, my main point was her rage mode. And I was kind of right. She doesn't really have a rage mode, but she still does go into a rage at the end and does fight Steven. So, and I did say in my theory, she was probably going to fight Steven because she was Rose. So I kinda got it right. It depends on how you look at it. I think I halfway did. Well, a little more than half. But you may look at it, because the rage mode wasn't correct, you got it wrong. I don't know. It's all different points of view and all that. And anything else? Funny, I've never taken notes for these episodes. I've pointed out in the past how I always tend to forget something. Even in my Crack the Whip episode, I forgot something. And I added stuff in post. In this episode, though, I actually took notes. Let's see, anything I forgot? Oh, the transitions between episodes. Or between the commercials. That was nice. It really was. But, in all honesty, I loved it. I hope you guys enjoyed. And stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.